Hi, how are you all doing? Hope you're having a fantastic day. And I'm just taking a drive, and I thought it'll be good to talk a little bit. My thoughts, put it out there. I'm here to talk about pi, which is the relationship between the circumference and the diameter of a circle. And we know it as 3.14 or 22 by 7, but that is an approximation. Pi is in fact an unfathomable number, a number that will never fit into our idea of numbers or measurement or a quantity. I'm sure we'd all have heard about simulation theories, that humanity is in a simulation. Maybe we are just characters in another civilization's video game, or a world that they created with computing power and software. And we could actually do it today. All you need is very powerful computing hardware and a skilled software engineer, and you could actually create a whole universe with your own planets, with your own laws of physics inside the computer, in a virtual world, in a virtual universe. And a lot of people theorize that that's probably what humanity is. That's probably the place what we are living in is. We are in a simulation. And I can't really argue that. Sometimes it does feel like that if you think about it. Elon Musk is a huge backer of this theory. And the way he justifies this theory is that 40 years ago, our computing technology was the game called Pong. Yeah, some of you would have played it, mostly the 90s kids. And just in over 40 years, we have gone into really immersive virtual reality. Things like we use simulation to train pilots, like flight simulation, space simulation to train astronauts, put them in scenarios and situations that they would face when they work as a pilot. So computational realism has got exponentially better in just over 40 years. But the difference between simulation and realism is that in a simulation, there has to be some kind of limitation. A simulation can never exist without a limitation. And yes, we are limited in a couple of ways. We are limited by gravity, so no matter where we are in this universe, we are under the influence of some sort of gravity. And we are under the influence of time. And we are under the influence of space. So now as I'm driving, at any given time, I am within a coordinate space of X, Y, and Z. I cannot go out of it. I am bound by space, time, and gravity. These are the laws of this world, of this so-called simulation that we're in. And again, when you are creating your own world using computing power and software, you are going to set some sort of limitation on your world. It has to obey some laws that you define. You define the size of characters in that world, or the size or the length between 2 points, or if something falls, you can actually define it to fall upwards and not downwards. So it's all under your control, and you have to set that limitation for the world to function. So without that limitation, the software would simply throw out an error, right? All of you coders out there, you would know, if you do not define, if you don't handle the errors properly, the software doesn't run, and the world doesn't exist. The virtual world doesn't exist. So you have to set some limitations for the world to function. But because of the number pi, it's hard to believe that we are in a simulation. So pi, as we know it as 3.14, what's really interesting is what happens after that decimal point. So in its decimal representation, pi is an infinite number. And unlike other numbers, it does not settle into a repeating pattern. So if you divide two numbers, it always settles into a repeating pattern, like 0.1234, 1234, 1234. And the patterns can be as complex as you'd like it to be, but still it is bound by a pattern. That's how most of the numbers behave. But pi, no. It just says no, I will not settle into a pattern. It's a never repeating, never ending set of numbers after the decimal point in 3.14. We are used to it, used to the value of pi, but to ancient mathematicians it was mind-boggling. It was like maddening, and they referenced it to the omniscience of God. So omniscience is the state of knowing everything, and they just couldn't understand it. How could you possibly know this number called pi? How could you understand it or visualize it as a number? Because humanity uses numbers for measurement or to express a quantity. That's how numbers came into place. This crazy number has been maddening to so many scientists in the past. As I'm thinking more about it, it just makes me question our existence. As it turns out, a circle is the most dominating shape in this universe. Everything that you could possibly think of is either circular or spherical. The universe itself is a flat circle. Galaxies are circular. Stars, planets in them, they are spherical. Black holes are spherical. And everything else, the size of your head, it's all spherical. And the fact that you can calculate the size of your head or the size of the entire observable universe using a relationship called pi, that's something to think about. And something else that we take for granted and ignore are the forces of nature. The force of gravity travels radially in a spherical fashion. It propagates and expands in the shape of a sphere. And magnetic force travels in a radial fashion. So now even the forces of nature has incorporated the value of, or the relationship of pi somewhere in there. That's crazy. I mean, we are defined by this number, and this number does not follow any rules. And that's what makes me question the simulation theory. Because this number should have been defined, and a limitation must be set upon it if it was a simulation, if we were all just software, you know. I've been thinking a lot about this number. I wish to learn more about it, so I just wanted to put it out there, put my thoughts out there. Had some time to kill while I was driving, and hope you guys think more about it. Like, this universe is a very interesting place. A lot of people are so drowned into their daily lives that they miss the magic that we're in.